Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a good week. What we're going to do this week is actually continue on from the end of last week. And I just really quickly want to go over and show what we did. We've got this task manager, which is our home page. We've got about, nothing in register, nothing in login. And really quickly, just as a review, the way we want to log into this is we can't really go in here and start doing things like build and debug. You can see that those options are not available to us. But down in the package manager console, we can do things like npm start. Okay. And that is a function of this here. Okay. Another thing I can do is basically when I call this npm start, it's executing this line here. Okay, and once I run that, I ran the npm start just to kick this thing off. I can go up to a domain and just type in local, and you can see already it's picking it up, localhost 3000, and there you go. We have what we left off with our website. So today what I want to do is actually go back to this Heroku, and I want to actually connect our database or our web application into Heroku. Okay, and we're going to use our GitHub repository to do that. And one change I want to make from last week, I know this project is called F20 for Fall 20 Task Manager. And somewhere in my GitHub, I think I'm calling it, okay, I'm signed into my GitHub. And I've got this in here. Let me go to my, my repositories. Okay, task manager. Okay, so I've gone in and I've actually done a previous video that I recorded and I posted today about how to do all of this through the command line. Okay, so I'm not going to do that here. Just I want you to know that I've actually created this through all command line interfaces with GitHub and my Visual Studio. And so when we go into Visual Studio here, you can see that even in Team Explorer, I'm now actually able to make changes to my code and then actually sync that up and send it out to my GitHub. Okay. And on my GitHub, that's actually called Task Manager. Okay. And I do have it set to public. So if you're, following along or you want to look at this, you can go ahead and do so. Okay. So I'm going to go to my Task Manager and let's get back into Visual Studio Code. Actually, sorry, let's go over to, I want to go to Heroku. Where did I put my Heroku? There it is. Okay, so I've logged in under Heroku from last time. Okay, and now what we're going to do is connect all this up. Okay? Okay, because it's just easier than trying to do this through Azure as an example. Okay, so what I want to do right away is you can see this create a new app. So I'm going to do this create a new app and I'm going to call it in lower cases task dash manager. Okay. And task manager is not available. Okay. So let's go with F2020 hyphen task man. Okay. So it's got to start with a lowercase. Not a problem. We changed that. So F2020 Task Manager is available. So in fact, what I'm going to do is change this to Tom's. Let's see if it'll give me the, no, I can't use that either. I got to go with Tom's Task Manager. Okay. And I'm going to leave it to the United States because I'm not in Europe. And I'll do create an app. Okay, so what's the next step? Is hint, hint, I've already created a GitHub repository there, and I'm calling this Task Manager. So what we are going to end up needing to do is connect into that. So naturally, I'm going to come to this deployment method here, and I want to go to GitHub. Okay, and it's got me already signed in here. Search for a repository to connect to, and I need to know the name. And as you know over here, we're calling it Task Manager. And I'm actually going to highlight and copy and paste because I've had too many situations in my life where I get the spelling wrong and everything goes to hell. So that's what I'm going to do there. I have one small concern that it seems to actually like lowercase, but I'm going to try it anyway. In uppercase as Task Manager. Select Search, and you'll notice that it's actually picked it up here. So I'm going to go ahead and connect in. So what's interesting now is that I am connected in and my automatic deploys. So what's going to happen is I'm going to leave it to master because that's all I selected here in my, you can see on GitHub, I've only got master. So that's all I'm going to do. Keep it to master. And then I'm going to do this enable automatic deploys. And so every 60 seconds, this is going to keep checking in and make sure that everything is the same. Okay. And finally, down here at the bottom, I'm going to say deploy branch. Okay, and you can see it's starting to run down here below. Okay. And after all of that, you can see the check marks, but the important thing is your app was successfully deployed. That's the important thing. So now for the moment of truth. Your app was successfully deployed, so let's view it. And there it is. Look at this URL. Okay, tomstaskmanager.herokuapp.com. I go to About and I can go to Task Manager. And again, I've got nothing for these other two options, but they do reveal a hashtag. And you can see my About view and my index. So if you've gotten to this point, you're doing phenomenally well, I think. I'd also like to go in and test this out and confirm that I'm actually able to make changes and then redeploy everything. So I'm in my index page, which I believe to be in here, and you can tell I'm in the Heroku, which is different from being in my other one. Now, this one is my local host. That's where I started the first time. Okay, but now I'm actually being hosted on Heroku. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change this line. Okay, so when I go into Visual Studio, that's my index.hbs, and I'm going to say this site is being built for comp 2068 in JavaScript frameworks. Okay, so I'm going to just save that. That's the latest change that I've had. So as you can see on mine, I've got my Team Explorer. Okay, and I'm going to go over to changes. And I'm just going to type in a new message thing. Actually, I need to save this. It's important that I save this because if I don't save this, my commit all doesn't engage. So I can say update to Heroku. Actually, not update. How about we go with host to Heroku and update index.hbs. Okay, so I'm going to go select now the commit all. Okay, and it's going to say commit this number created locally sync. So I select my sync. And then from there, I go to this outgoing commits and I'm going to hit push. Now I should get an update on here as there it is, remote resolving details. Okay, successfully pushed to master to origin. Okay, so that's all done. Let's go back out to our hosting. Okay, and I'm going to do a refresh on this. Okay, and so far nothing, but let's give it a minute. So like I said before, it does actually take up to 60 seconds, okay? But if I go into here, and let's go up to my activity log. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, so the build succeeded. What time is it now? 2:58. So I think I did that about 2:57. Okay, so let's look at that log. It's loading. Okay, and there's all that stuff that I did see happening on the screen anyway. Okay, activity feed. Okay, here we go. It seemed to me like I had to wait longer than 1 minute, and for your sake, I actually did pause the video. But I did go into my GitHub. I confirmed that it updated. Okay, and on the site, it actually did update. You can tell it's Heroku. And down here, I did select the automatic deployments. And when you look at the activity, it did show that it successfully built and that it actually did deploy. So it's all there. If you're concerned about what's going on with yours, I would urge you just to be a little bit patient. Okay, I first hit that thing 5 minutes ago, and I do think it took a little bit longer than 60 seconds to actually update that. So that's not bad. I'm still pretty happy with it. Okay. Now let's consider something. This is my original version. At 2:52, I deployed this. Okay. But then later on, 2:57, so 5 minutes later, I made a change and I redeployed it. And if I'm going forward and I do totally screw something up, I can go to here, roll back to here. Okay. And then I can start over or fix, but at least I know I can roll back to where I was and then try to figure out the problems. And then once those problems are solved, do another commit. So what that means is if I were to actually select that, it'll give me, it gives me this option, confirm the result of the rollback to V3. Rolling back to previous release will restore the code from that release as well as remove any configuration variable changes made since that release. I'm not going to do it because I'm happy with what I've got, but that's what the process would have been. Okay. Before I go too much further in terms of actual programming, I want to kind of transition a little bit and talk about NoSQL databases. Okay, so primarily for this first part, I'm just going to talk about MongoDB. Okay, and what's important is kind of how you view what typical relational database modeling looks like, because NoSQL is actually much different. I mean, there are similarities, but this is actually quite different. So you can see here in the slides, and I will post this, but the NoSQL concept evolved as a response to the scaling problems encountered by web applications with relational databases. However, depending on what your use is or your use case or what your app is going to be, you may or may not want to do that. So if you're ever thinking, okay, I'm going to build a big application, it's going to be huge, really dig deep and take a look and consider all the factors before you just abandon a relational database model, such as SQL or something. Don't just kind of go with the trend. Sit down, analyze the factors, and see which kind of paradigm is best for you. Okay, because the NoSQL may not actually work out for you in terms of the scaling that you want. Okay, where it might or it might not, but look at the factors. So understanding the difference is really important. That NoSQL is not the same thing as relational databases that you're accustomed to. Okay, so what I want to do is just briefly talk about a couple of differences here. And when you look at the different sort of language around a NoSQL database, it's important to understand that we actually use you don't use tables. You use something called a collection. Okay, and inside those collections, you have documents. Okay, and the documents is kind of where you live and breathe everything SQL. So that's what actually goes on here. And if you kind of just look at this is an example here. But let me go back and go through a couple of these points here. Okay, so when you look at SQL, you had tables, you had rows. Okay, but with collections, we're in documents. And a document actually really accounts or is considered by extension what a record or a row actually is from the SQL sort of paradigm. So it's not to be confused. They're not the same thing. They do have some similarities. Okay, but just to be clear, when you look at this sort of document here on your screen, that's what I'm talking about. This is a document, okay? And it's kind of based on this JSON idea, which is much, much different than trying to do this with tables and records and rows and columns and all that kind of a thing. Okay, so if we go to the next, actually, let me go back and I'm going to just talk about a few things on here. Okay, so documents can be nested inside other documents, eliminating the need to create table relationships with foreign keys, okay, or joining tables and stuff like that. So to be clear, there still is something that kind of mimics a primary key. It's actually called the ID field. Okay, but to be clear, it does act in the same sort of mentality as a primary key, but it's an ID field. And when we nest these things, we're actually able to eliminate foreign keys and joins. Okay, so the other thing is, you can see on the bottom here, it says NoSQL's horizontal scaling makes it perfectly suited to cloud hosting solutions, which can be automatically scaled based upon user demand. Okay, so if we continue on in this thing, each document represents the record. Okay, documents are stored in collections, and different documents in the same collection can have a different schema, okay, which is different than a relational database table. Documents are structured in a key value pair, okay, a key and a value. And document field can contain another document or an array of other documents. Okay, and I already talked about this idea that all documents must have a unique ID field as a primary key. But MongoDB automatically adds this field to every collection. Okay. So I wondered where the heck did the name Mongo come from? And actually, it's the center of the word humongous. Okay, Mongo, right there, Mongo database. Okay, and it came out in 2007. So I just thought that was an interesting little bit of UFI. But I did not make these slides. But I still kind of appreciated whoever made the slides, that these were nice little factoid that now makes my life complete. So our data storage in the form of binary JSON, so it's actually Bison or Bison, you can kind of call it. These key value pairs are extremely fast and play well with Node and Express. Okay, which is why we're actually talking today about the M in the mean stack, which is Mongo. It's because of that relationship between Node and Express. Okay, and so as both our application code and the data itself are in JavaScript format. Okay, this is supported by most cloud hosting platforms. It includes automatic unique object ID, and it supports ad hoc queries and stuff like that. It's an interesting line. Who cares what it means? Okay, let's keep going. All right, so we'll get into this in a minute. And we'll come back to this as well, because we're actually going to go through all this. And we're going to come back to that too. But this is what I wanted to get to. I want to get to CRUD. Okay. So the first thing it is we need to connect our database. Yeah, obviously. Mongo comes with a test database pre-installed. Okay. So to create documents, as an example, we say db.beers.insert and then, your key values. So this is our insert, if you will. Notice we neither had to create the beers collection for us nor define any schema for it. In fact, our two documents have slightly different schemas. Okay. You can see this here. Steam whistle and type. Name is this and the type is that and on sale is that. But notice they're the same thing going into the same DB. Okay. But you can see if you've got any experience whatsoever with JSON, that there's this sort of similar syntactical relationship. Okay, doing a query. Okay, so when we want to talk about querying data, it's a find. Okay, we use the find function. It's a function call, basically. Notice the unique ID field of type object ID that Mongo auto generates. Okay, you update a document, use default update modifies, or by default update modifies a single document, though there is a multi option. Okay, let's keep going. Let's look at delete. Okay, delete is simply db.beers.remove. Okay, the remove function takes an optional parameter which specifies how many documents should be deleted. What's next? Okay, I'm not going to get into this yet, but we should go get out of this PowerPoint stuff and head over to our Visual Studio and start getting this rolling. But I think we actually, first thing we got to do is probably install Mongo on our computers. So let's go ahead and start looking at that. So I'm in the MongoDB.com. Okay, and the first thing I need to do is actually go in there and create a free account. So you can look around here and see all sorts of interesting stuff if you want to. But I'm going to do I hit sign in, but really don't have an account, sign up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So I'll pause the video and give you guys time to do it as well. So I've created an account. It's taken me to here. So what I think I need to do now is actually log into my email. So I will log into my email. Okay, edit that because that student email appeared on the screen. Break. So I went into my email. It asked me to click on the link to activate my account. So I've done that. I'm now into Mongo and I'll close that. And you can see over on the side that I'm logged in. Okay. So it brings me to this page, but there might be this little pop-up that comes up. Okay, and I'm just going to drop that down. You can see it closes, but I'm going to do a build a cluster. And obviously I want this free one here. I don't want to start paying for this stuff. Okay, and so create a cluster, and this will take us here. But what's happening is it's the green box around there is defaulting. So AWS, North America. Right now I'll keep those defaults, but you notice that you can go on to these different providers as well. Okay, so down here, this cluster tier, you're looking for the M0 sandbox. Okay, and if it doesn't for some reason default to that, you go down to here and make sure you click on this one here, this M0 sandbox. Okay, because then you'll start getting into all this paid stuff and you don't want that. So make sure you click on M0. Okay, and there it is. So I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call this cluster task manager. I don't have to change that at all. Okay, and I want to just go back up there for a second and show you one more thing. You can get in this M0, you can get a maximum 100 databases. Okay, and then 500 maximum collections. So I kind of forgot to mention that, but I've got it now. And then finally, we're going to just select create cluster. Okay, and it's doing its thing. It says new clusters take between 1 and 3 minutes. So really quickly, I want to make a point about this compass. It's like SQL Workbench is basically kind of the concept behind this. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside for a minute. And just to be clear, we actually don't have a database yet. We've got a cluster. So when I click on my cluster and then I go to collections, okay, I click on that. It says retrieving list of databases and collections. It should say 0 and 0. And what you're seeing is databases 0, collections 0. Okay, so all we've done was a cluster and we've defined a user, but we haven't actually built a database yet. So it's important to note that, collections, one collection is comprised of a bunch of documents. Okay, so you're always going to have at least one minimum of one collection. So I'm going to add my own data. And I'm just going to call this tasks. Okay, I'm going to call the collection name tasks as well. Okay, so I need to have one collection minimum. Okay, and let's go with create. So what you see is one database, one collection. Okay. So I'm at this point now. I've got my database and I've got my collection called tasks. And so I'm going to go over to here. You see this insert document. Okay, because don't forget, collections hold documents. And right off the bat, I'm getting this ID. Okay, so remember what I said about this primary key concept. So the first thing I'm going to do is say name. Okay, so I've got my key and my value, and I don't know, it's going to be record video lesson. Okay, and right beside you see this little X or you see a plus. The plus is to add another field. And this one's going to be called complete. Okay, and in here I'm going to set this to false. And I'm going to do another one here, and this is going to be, let's say, priority of task. So priority. Okay, and we're going to say that's the first priority because I can't do much without that. And let's go ahead and actually do an insert into the document. And you can see the document is right there. Let's do another one. Okay, so insert a document. You can see my object ID, and this will be name again. And you can hit the tab button and it'll go right over to where you want it to go. And I'm going to say, actually edit video. Okay, and we'll do another one. This one is going to be complete. And no, false. So no, hasn't been completed. And we're going to add another one. And this one's going to be a priority 2. Sorry, doesn't go there. It actually goes here. And we'll insert that. Okay, and there it is. I've got 2 documents inside my collection. So that's one way that we could do that. And what I've done is I've gone from my data access. So if I click on, I go back into here. Okay. So what I want to show you how to do is actually get in and connect into this compass. Now, you don't have to be in Compass. You can stay right where we are and do everything in here, but it's just one more method that I can show you how to do this. So if I go back out and I go to my clusters and I hit connect, what happens is this comes up, okay? And so before I go in and do this, what I want to do is go back to this connect to Atlas, and I'm going to hit this button here. Okay, and it's your click here to manage IP address configuration and VPC peering. Okay, so I'm clicking on that, and I'll add my IP address, current IP address. Okay, and just confirm. Done. So when I go back to my clusters and then I want to connect, it brings me to this image right here. And so I want to go to the bottom here and connect using MongoDB Compass. Okay. And you see it's got this line right here down at step 2. But the other thing is, before I go any further, I have MongoDB Compass. So you want to select that for sure. Okay. And then you're going to need your old password that you put in here. And I'm going to copy that. Actually, you know what I can do is I'll copy that. So now I open up Compass and I come to this this line here, and I'll put that in. And right here, I'm going to pause the video because I don't want you to see my password, but you put your password in there and hit connect. Okay, that didn't work, and I don't know why. Anyway, get out of this, edit that. So I come to this field, or this page, break. I come to this page, and what I want to do is fill in connection fields individually. And then you can see my cluster task manager, everything is set there. My username and password. Okay, my username, my password, and admin. And I'm going to go ahead and do connect. And what's interesting is I've got this authentication failed. Okay. And now it worked. I had to retype in my password, but it worked now. Okay, so now I'm in here. Okay, let's look at tasks. I've got 2 documents in there. Okay, so if I go to tasks, you can see that I have tasks already in here. And those were the ones that we had previously created inside our Mongo connection already. And just as an example, we can add more stuff in here if we want to. Import file, insert document. Let's go with this. And I'm not going to insert. I'm not going to do all this stuff. To be perfectly honest with you guys, I really like using it the other way. I much prefer to be in here doing this in my collections. Okay, for me it just seems a little bit tighter to do it this way. So for the most part, I may just stick to doing it this way at the moment. I mean, you can go and do it, insert document, add data. I don't want to do it that way. And you can insert the documents this way. I don't want to do it that way, to be honest with you. At this point, it's appropriate to start talking about Mongoose. Okay, we've already started to build out the Node.js framework already with Express. We've now connected into our MongoDB, but now we need something to bridge the gap between the two of them. Okay, so this is, if you've done ASP.NET, you do this with package managers and all that kind of stuff. So this is that library that bridges the gap between your Node and Express and MongoDB. Okay, and it's called Mongoose. And what happens is in Mongoose is we've got a couple of, we've got to deal with these connection strings basically. If you've done .NET before, or .NET Core especially, a lot of this conceptually will be very familiar to you. We got to kind of set it up in the same way. Okay, so Mongoose provides a straightforward schema-based solution to model your application data. It includes built-in typecasting, validation, query building, business logic hooks, and more out of the box. Great. Okay. So Mongoose helps the Node app enable this MVC patterning. Okay, and we're going to use some of these connections to accomplish that. Okay, and yeah, we'll get into this from a more practical point of view. So the one thing I have to do is actually go and get it. And so I'm going to go to, it's npmjs.com. Okay, and from here you can just type in Mongoose. Okay. Okay, so there's Mongoose there. So I've selected Mongoose, and you can see over here some stats about the popularity of it. Okay, and the weekly downloads is 1 million weekly downloads. The scary stuff about that is, you know, that's how many software developers are out there trying to figure out how to use Mongo. Okay, anyway, getting to this, you can look at some of the documentation here, and we've got this overview. So connecting to Mongo. Okay, we've got stuff in here that is of interest to us. Okay. So these are some of the items that we're going to want. Okay, this use new URL parser, unified topology, all that stuff. We're going to want that. So I'm going to go back into my Visual Studio. Okay, and I'm going to do open developer command prompt. Okay, so I'm right clicking inside here. This isn't going to work if you're actually over in a different view of any kind, but here it works. So open developer command prompt. And I'm wondering if it's hiding on my two screens somewhere. Okay, I actually had to shut down my Visual Studio and then restart it. And the important thing is that I'm back at I'm fully mapped to where my project is stored. Okay, so I'm just going to type in npm I for install. Okay, and it's Mongoose. Okay, -- save. And enter. Okay, and that looks like it worked. So now what we need to do is go into the app.js. I'm going to open that up, and I want you to understand where we're putting this. Okay, we have to put this, we're going to put this right after our express constructor. Okay, so right after line 10. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare this as const and Mongoose, okay, equals require. Okay, it's in the IntelliSense, which is always a phenomenal sign. And just quotes there like that. Mongoose. Okay, so we've got that line there. And then we're going to do Mongoose .connect. Okay, now we need to get that connection string that we had back in MongoDB. So is it here? No. Is it in here? And I believe if we go back out to our database access. So one place to find it though, for sure, is this, you go to clusters, connect, and we go to this right here, this connect using MongoDB Compass. It's one place that you can go and grab that link. So I actually need this link right here, and I'll copy it to my clipboard. That's what I actually need. Okay. And so what I will do though is go back to my Visual Studio, And in this line, in single quotes, I'm going to put that in there. And then I'm actually going to put my password in there. Okay, but there is one thing in there that I do want to check. And I'm going to change this to admin. Okay, and the reason for that is because if I close that out, we are the user that we have in there. Okay, so create your first database user. Okay, and we're in there as an admin. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my password in there, and then I'm going to hide that from everybody else. Okay. Actually, I have to correct a point there. That's not admin. That should be tasks. That's the database we want to get into. Okay. So I've got that line in there. And one thing I want to add to it is this. It was part of this documentation in the Mongo. So connect to Mongo. It's part of this. So I'm not going to take all of it. I'm just going to take some of it. Okay. So what I want is use new. Oh. Okay. Because I made a mistake, it's not going to work. URL parser. And that's going to be true. And that'll be a comma. And honest, if only I could spell. It's not so much the spelling I'm bad at, it's just typing around a microphone. And next thing I want, in fact, you know what I missed altogether, is I should be putting this in a bracket. Okay, let's go, comma, next line is going to be use unified, or unifield. Unified, sorry, topology. Okay, and that's going to be true. Okay, and then go on the next line. That's just going to, I'm going to close that out. Oh, sorry, close that out. And then I'm going to do dot then. Okay, and this will be a function call. And this is going to be like this. So it's going to be, what I'm trying to do is confirm that I've actually got the response. Okay, and from here we're going to go with a fat arrow. Okay, and then one more of these. And it's going to be console dot log. Okay, and single connect. Okay, connection to MongoDB. And we'll close that out. This is really ugly syntax. I get that. And then I'm going to do a catch. Okay. And I know this syntax honestly is just the most horrific looking thing you've probably ever seen. That's okay. So it's going to be console.log and then another message there, which is going to be connection error. Okay. And what am I missing to close that out? Looked like I got everything in there. I got some squiggly lines, maybe just some one or two things off. Okay, I do apologize for that. I have the worst typing abilities known to any programmer on the planet, I think, sometimes. So just the best thing to do is just have a look at the syntax and try to understand that I'm trying to, log out to the console that I'm connected. And if I'm not, then put out this connection error. Okay, this piece up here is part of the Mongo connection syntax or methodology and how we actually will connect into Mongoose. Okay, so if I go back to here, I've got that first part. I've got my connection string here basically, and you know, end this off with a comma and then get into the rest of this. So this is our Mongoose. Then we're trying to get in and look for errors in our connection string. An unfortunate thing sometimes about programming is that we kind of we get forced into just creating connections from one application to another, or creating these linkages. We don't always necessarily understand why they're there. We just, as programmers or software developers, have to understand how to manipulate it and make it all connect. So that's the important thing right now. Let's put some breadcrumbs above that, okay? And we'll just do a comment here, and we're gonna say database, okay, connection. So we're gonna try to connect and log a let's say pass fail result. Okay. There. Let's do a save on that. One thing I wanted you to understand here, you see these little red check marks on the side? It's been a really long time since I've actually done an upload to Git. So connection to Mongoose and some other stuff. Okay, so I'm going to do a commit all. It's going. And then I'm going to do a sync. Now that the sync is done, I'm going to do a outgoing commit push. And you'll see it push out there in a sec, initializing push or initiating. Okay, it's got a lot to do, it looks like. And that looks like it's completed. So let's go to Solution Explorer, and you see that those red check marks have disappeared. Okay, so if you were wondering what the red check marks are, it was just, they are because it's connected into GitHub and it hasn't been sent out in quite some time. So you might be saving it in here, but you're not saving it or pushing it to GitHub. So I'm going to give this a try to run this, but my concern is, in the past I did my local host, so makes me wonder, you know, if I try to run this from Visual Studio, and I'm almost sure I'm going to get this. So if I go node mon, okay, you may see, okay, app crash, waiting for file, blah blah blah, and okay, let's try this one. Let's close that there. Control C. Control C doesn't like it on my computer. So what I'm going to do is actually restart it. So what I should have had was npm start. Okay, I'll start that. And I still get this. Interesting. Let's go back out here. We'll open up a new thing and do localhost 3000. I've got that, but what I was hoping for was to get that message on the bottom to say whether or not I got the connection. Okay. What am I seeing here? One problem I had is that I actually didn't save it. So let me go back and save this. And I did that. I've saved it, saved all of them. And let's go down, stop this. Let's go back out. And this actually works. This, when I go to my task or to my local host. So that's all there, but that's my local host. That's localhost 3000, which is different from my Heroku. Okay, so if I go back to here, I'm trying to make sure that that connection string actually works. Okay, so I'm going to push this one more time to changes and see if it accepts any changes. Confirm Mongoose. Okay, sync, push. Okay, so what you're seeing here is this line that says port 3000 is already in use. Okay, that's something we faced before. So what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to go into my task manager. Okay, task manager, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to look for that right there. So where did it go? Okay, end task. I think there's a second one. No, yep. End task and end task. Okay, so I've shut those down. So what's happening now? Okay, so if I do npm start. Okay, so now you're seeing the line that says connection to MongoDB. Okay, that's a great sign. I'm really hoping that you got to this point. And notice that I didn't get to this point without any struggle, okay? There's always a little bit of work to do no matter who's doing it, okay? And, you know, that's just the way software goes. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. But you got to just be patient and stick with it, okay? Okay, so I'm going to change my password, which you guys can't see, but I'm going to change it. Okay, and then I'm actually going to try and run this again. Something that I should actually be able to do, and I'm not, is to just type in Control-C and have everything shut down. But for some reason, my computer doesn't want to do that. So I'm going to go back to here, and I've changed my password just to do npm start. Type it in, and I should get the error saying that the app actually crashed. And it crashed because my task manager. So in task manager, I still have that version of Node open up. I need to go back in and that. Okay. And then let's run that again. npm start. Maybe there's more than one. Yeah, there's more than one open. Okay, so there's Node and task. And let's see, I've got a bunch of Node. Okay. Close those. And I hope I got them all. Okay. Now I can go back into here and shut this off and restart it. So I'm back and type npm start and enter that. And I get a connection error. Okay, so that worked properly. And I don't expect you to start and stop and do all this stuff over and over, but maybe you should actually go in and test this out. Okay, so I didn't get the connection that I wanted. So I can go back in and actually change my password back to what it really is. Save that. Okay, port 3000 is already in use. Okay, so I'm back up and running. Very long, painful way to just prove a small point, okay? So what this is saying is my application now is connected through Mongoose to MongoDB, okay? So that's all we've done. But keep in mind, now that we've created this connection, should last the life of the project, unless you break something, which is entirely possible. So if you think about this for a minute, we're putting something with a password in there, okay, in this connection string. And it's probably not the most advisable thing that we could possibly do. I think what's more appropriate is maybe to put that into a separate file. And then later on, if you're doing anything with APIs and stuff like that, anything that has password or some sort of level of security, maybe we want to put this into a different location. So what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to copy everything, this connect, everything inside the quotations, okay? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a new directory. Okay, and it's going to be add new folder. And I'll call this config. Okay, we're just going to call it config. And it's going to pop up right underneath bin. And inside config, we're going to do a new JavaScript file. And we're going to call that globals.js. Okay. So that's inside the config file. So I've spared you the pain of watching me type. And what I've done is I've actually I've used this module and exports. Okay, because I want to set this to public access, and this is how we're going to do it. Okay, so that's the property and of exports. And then what I'm doing is I'm saying DB in brackets, not brackets, single quotes, a colon, and then we're putting that whole entire line in there. Okay. Okay, so I'm back in my apps .js, and this is what I'm going to do. Right under here, actually, right under the Mongoose. So I'm going to do const, and this is going to be globals, okay, which is the same as what is in my new configuration file. And that's going to be equal to require, just like above, kind of. Require. Okay, require. And in there, I have to put the path to it, okay? And that is going to be dot. Okay, is it going to give me my config? Okay, config, and then globals. And there it is. It's actually selecting it for me. I love when that happens because I know I'm doing something right. Now, the next thing I want to do is I obviously want to replace this entire line here, right up to that colon, with globals. And you can see it right there. Okay. But it's not over yet. It's DB. Okay, it's globals DB. And then the rest of it is as it was before. So I want to go ahead and save that. Okay, so what's happened is I created that folder, obviously. Then I've gone back and I've created this line here, this const globals equals required. And then this is my path. You can see it highlight to my task manager, config, and globals. Okay, I don't need the .js. And when I go to my globals, what I've got is inside the quotes DB with the colon, and then that line of code that I had previously. And I use this so that I can see it publicly. And I go back to apps, and all I'm doing is I'm actually going to take this variable and use the dot operator in DB. Okay, so that now tells it that this is that connection string basically to my database. Okay, so I went back down and I did an npm start. Okay, and you can see that connection to MongoDB. So same thing exactly. I just moved around my connection string. That's all I've done. Okay, and the good thing is if I have any other things like that in the future, now I have a folder that I can go dump it in. I think now would be a good time to push this out to GitHub because of the way I've reconfigured this. So add config file folder. Okay, and I'll just do a commit, sync, and a push, and out it's gonna go. Done. So next thing we want to do now is consider that what we've got here. We've got routes, which is another name for controllers, and we've got views. Okay. And we now have a database and we're connected into our database. So we still want to stick to the MVC paradigm. So I think what I'm going to actually do is now go in and do a new folder, add new folder, and I'm going to call this models. Okay, and I'm going to stick to lowercase because everything else is too. So I'm going to call this models. And in here, I'm actually going to add a new file, and it's going to be called task.js. Okay. There. That's our model. Notice there's nothing in it. Okay. So I've added a note there that says add Mongoose. Okay. And before we do, let's just go back out to our clusters and our two documents. Okay. Remember, we had name, complete, and priority, and the ID was auto-generated. So let's go back in here, and since I've got add Mongoose, what I want to do is say const. Okay, and it's going to be Mongoose is required. Require, and it's a method call, so we'll say Mongoose. Okay, there it is, Mongoose. And then we're going to start looking at the actual schema. Const task. How do you spell that? Schema is going to be equal to new Mongoose, not dot Mongo, dot schema. Okay. And so this is where we start to get back into that JSON syntax. Okay, so the first thing we want, what do we have here? So the first was name. Okay, and oops, not that. It's a colon actually. And then we've got this. So let's do our type for our name was it was a string. Okay, comma. Let's make it required. And let's do this. Not that. Name is required. Okay, and then we'll do another comma. Okay, I'm getting a little tired, guys and girls. And then we're gonna do trim. And we'll set that to true as well. Okay, and we'll just get rid of any erroneous spaces and bring that up, down one, and I'll do a comma and go to the next one, and we're going to say complete. Yeah, complete. Okay, and then put in my brackets, and this type, because this one was true or false, is going to be a boolean. Okay, comma, and then default is going to be false. Okay, and then we'll go down to this, do another comma, and because priority has only one line in there, we can just get away with doing this. We can do priority, and we'll set that to number. Okay, that's all we have to do for that. And close that out. Okay, and I will do Control KD, and that hopefully lines up everything I want. So that's good there. So final thing we're going to have to do here is we'll make this public. Okay. And it's a class. It's a public class. Okay. And we're going to do like we did before, module dot exports. Okay. And this is going to be equal to Mongoose. Right there, Mongoose dot model. Okay, right up here. Models, sorry, with an S. Okay, models. And actually, no, that should be model. That shouldn't be a pluralized. It'll be a model. And then inside this, we'll say name. And it'll be a capital task. Okay. It'll be a public name with a capital, and we'll say task schema. Okay. Let's go ahead and save that. It would be nice if we could actually scaffold in here, but that's not really going to work. And so one of the things I am going to now do, though, is I'll go up to my routes, and I'm actually going to add a new controller. Okay, and I'm going to right click on there, and I'm going to add a new file, and I'm going to call this one tasks. Okay, and this one is plural. Okay, so when you're talking about your models, they are singular, and your controllers are actually plural. Okay, that's dot. I think I had a comma. So I'm going to create this other controller called tasks.js. Okay, so there it is. So I'm in my index controller. Okay, and so a lot of the stuff that we have in here is going to be extremely similar to what we're about to do again. Okay, but this time we're going to be dealing with tasks. Okay, so let's get back into our tasks.js. Okay, and go from there. But before I do it, what I want to do is actually do a copy paste. So I'm actually going to copy this. Okay, and I'm going to go over to my tasks and drop that in there. So I'm going to go back to my other controller there. I'm going to take all of this, okay, and I'm going to copy that as well. Okay, and down below, I'll drop that in there. But in this case, I'm not getting my home page. I'm getting my task index view, okay? Now, the reason I'm sticking with this, I'm doing this, is because I've used this syntax already, right? So rather than changing things up, like basically doing what this line is doing down below, I could have used that just as easily, but I'm going to stick to one syntax or another, okay? So what this one's going to be is this line is going to be the same, and we're going to do this res.render. But this time it's not going to be index like this. It's actually going to be tasks, and then the like this. Okay, and I don't need any of this stuff here. Okay, so let me just get rid of all that and that comma. And in fact, I can get rid of this too, and I should be good to go. And I don't think I need that. Now, the next thing I do need is this line again. Okay, so there's a little bit of wash, rinse, repeat. Okay, there, and I just copied and copied. Okay, so I need to copy and paste this. Okay, so I'm good there. I'm going to do a save all. And let's just confirm that I'm still connected to everything. So if I go back out, do I have, No, I'm in there. That one I know works, but before I actually go and do it, okay, I'm connected to Mongo. What I want to do is do a localhost 3000. Not products. Localhost 3000. Okay, so I'm good there, but what happens if I do okay, get an error. So clearly I can't do this for the simple reason that there's no view for tasks. Okay, so everything here is okay, but it's giving me the 404 because there is no view yet. Okay, so we're gonna have to go and start thinking about what we want to do for our views. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to make a new folder. Okay, so new folder, and I'm going to call this one tasks. Okay, because I'm trying to match up my routes. Okay, so I'm going to call that tasks, and inside here, I'm going to do a new file, and it's going to be called index.hbs for handlebars. Okay, just like the other ones. Okay, so notice it's not index of views or the home page, it's the actual index homepage or the main page of tasks. Okay, so you can see that this one here is different from this one here. Very important. So in my new index for tasks, okay, right here, I'm just going to put this header tag called task manager. I'm going to save it. Okay, and let's go back out. And now I'm going to refresh this. Might take some time, may not. Make sure that I did do a save. Okay. It's all good. And let's go back out. So maybe go to about, and instead of about, we go to tasks. So if you were expecting it to actually work, I'm here to tell you that you might have been wrong on that. And the reason being is that we've never actually gone into apps.js and told the server where to start looking for something that said tasks. Okay. So it's a pretty important step that we got to still do to get it to control over or route over to that view. So I've gone ahead and I've put in a note here. Okay, and we're basically, we can just take, we can take this line if we want. We might as well just type it all out. Okay, so we can do var task with an S, tasks router. Sorry. Tasks router equals require. Okay, and then let's look at the path that we need to give it. And that path is going to be, it's going to look just like this. So our dot slash, and let's see if the IntelliSense picks it up at all. And no, it doesn't. It looks like we need to go to routes. Routes, and you guessed it, tasks. Okay, right there. And that should be it. Let's save that. And that was down here on line, let's say 44. Okay, I'm going to copy that because I just don't want to type it all out because I'm terrible at it. So apps use, and that is going to be, I'm going to set that to, this will be tasks and task router. Okay, tasks router, which is the same here as where we just put up top there on line 10. Okay, so let's go and save that. So any request that starts with tasks is now going to be directed to here. Sorry, not to here, to here. This is where it's going to be now directed. Okay. then we're going to get redirected over to a view. Okay, so I've gone and hit the refresh on tasks, and now my task manager is the view that's up there currently. So clearly I don't want to just leave it like that without anything in the nav bar. So I think I'm going to do is put tasks in between about and register, or yeah, I'll put it in there. So if I go back out to here and I go to my layouts. Okay, so my layouts, you can see here, that's my nav bar. Okay, and really all I need to do is just basically copy and paste, do a little bit of editing. Okay, and I'm just going to drop that in there. And my reference is, it's going to be called tasks. Okay, and we'll change that to say tasks. Yeah, tasks. Okay, I'm going to save that. And let's go out and see what happens. So I'll do a refresh on that, and there it is. Okay, so if I go to about, it takes me here. If I go to tasks, it brings me to tasks manager or task manager. So it's my hope now at this point to go and take a break. And I hope you do too. Walk away, go stretch your legs, do whatever, and then come back. And what we're going to do is actually start looking at the documents. Okay, and what do I want to do? Record video lesson, edit video. How about yeah, I think we'll be pretty good with those two items. Okay, so let's take a break and then come back. Now that we have everything all connected, and we actually have some semi-populated data, and GitHub is working, Mongo's working, Mongoose is working, all the connections are good. Now would probably be a good time to try to go and update our view and pull that data that we've got to our view. So let's see what that's all about and start trying to make those connections. So the only two files that I have open right now are my tasks controller and also my task index. So for right now, I'm going to stick to those. So inside my controller, I've got this note here that says reference the task model. Okay, and I'm going to do, I'm going to actually use const instead of var just to, I can use one or the other, but for this particular thing, I want to go with const. And we're going to say task, okay, equals require. And I can't stress this enough. When you can use the IntelliSense to select things, you're much better off to do so because you have a higher probability that you're actually going to get everything right. So it's going to be, because this is my file path, right? So I got to go up a level. So it'd be should be slash model. Okay, I'm just reading what it says for models, ELS, and then should be task. Okay, so task. And I don't need the .js, but you can see that it's there. Okay, and I'm going to close that out. That's fine. Control S. And I think now, right in here, I'm going to have to go in and make some changes too, just above my, just above this line here. So if I go up here, then I've got a little bit more to do now. So I have a note right here, this first one, just look at that one for now. So use the task model to fetch a list of tasks and pass these to the view for display. Okay, and then I'll come back to these other two notes in a minute. So this is going to be task dot find. I'm going to just use this find function. Okay, and I've got these two parameters that I talked about in the comments above, and it's going to be ERR comma tasks. Okay. And then, actually, I'm missing a, I'm missing this here. Okay, and then we're going to go out And this is going to be like this. Sorry. And then from here, we're going to say if. So if from here, this is a normal condition. If error, okay, then we're going to just kind of go to the console.log and look at this message, okay, which will be error. And then .end, and it's not a dot, it's actually ERR. Oh. Okay, and then we want to close that out. Let me check my formatting here. And then we're just going to, it's just a normal if-else statement, okay? So we'll do res dot, actually it's this line right here that I want. Okay, and I'm just going to move that up. Okay, and I'm going to do a control KD to fix my formatting because that looks horrendous and hard to read. And I'm going to space everything out because honestly, I can't stand difficult code that I can't read. So there, that's much more neat. Okay, what am I missing here? I've got this, and I think I might have one too many of these guys. There. Seems to be fixed. Okay, I did pause the video for a second because I couldn't stand looking at that poor formatting, but it's good now. And so this is just to try to deal with the fact that in this message here, what I'm saying is I've got these two parameters, error and tasks. Okay, if an error occurs, the error parameter will be filled, or will fill, and if not, the task parameter will be filled with the query result. So that's all that that's saying. And of course, I've got a console log to put out as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save that. So I was actually about to go and test this, and I noticed that I was getting these errors. And when I originally wrote this line in my actual model for tasks, I actually had like this name colon like that, and I was getting this squiggly line and stuff like that. So I went back, I looked at it, and I realized I actually don't need that. Okay, and when I take that out, the actual error went away and my connection was reestablished. So if you're getting that or you see that error, that's probably what your issue is. So I'm gonna just go in and test this out. Okay, I'm in my local, and I go to about, I go to tasks. Okay, it still works. That's the good news. I don't have any data to look at, but at least I know that it's still connected. I've opened up my index.js controller right now. And the reason is because I want to show you something that we did last week. And that is, we got this home page, right? But we're routing to our index page, but we're passing this JSON stuff. Okay, so this is really what we're doing here. And then when we go to our, we go into our task.js into here, it's the same sort of thing. We're down in this render view. Okay, so we've got task index. Now we want to actually pass the same stuff so that we can start looking at data. The way that's going to look is I'm just going to add a comma and the brace, and it's going to be tasks and the colon with tasks, and you can see task actually both, or task come up. Okay, and then basically this, and I got to just change the alignment a little bit of my should be closing that out like this. Okay, and that's that piece right now. So this is a very similar sort of idea as in .NET when you have you're returning a view. It's the same sort of a concept overall. Okay, and if ever you're wondering why is it that I'm kind of fanatical about these brackets being spread out, it's just it makes it more readable for me and for other people that may at some point in the future have to come back and look at this code. Okay, if I try to put this all onto one line, it starts to get extremely messy. So for me personally, I like it to be nice and spread out and organized. It doesn't hurt me to take up more real estate on my screen. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. Okay, so I hope you remember from last time, we kind of talked about this idea of getting the handlebar syntax. So I'm now in my my view for tasks. Okay, and I'm going to just go with the handlebar syntax. It's a little bit weird, but that's why I showed you the site in the last video. And what it's going to be we're going to basically just loop through the data that we have. Okay, so this is going to be each, and it'll be tasks. Okay, and we'll get outside of that, tab in, and it'll be this again. So it's going to be this dot name, and I'm just going to do a new line break on there. So it'll be BR, and then just like this. And then of course I got to add these, and it'll be the end of this tag. So this each is kind of a tag as well. Kind of one way to think about it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. Okay, and you can see down here I'm still connected to Mongo. All right, so if I go back out here and let's say I go to About, now I go to Tasks, you can see what I've got here. This is my record video lesson, edit video, upload video lesson. Okay, but I've only put the handle on there for name. Okay, so this word tasks, this keyword tasks right here, has got to match this keyword right here, tasks. So they have to match in order for that to be what is output to the screen. Okay, it was no different than what we did last time with this title and then our message. Okay, so what we're doing the same thing here. This tasks is what's actually happening right here. And then that is going to output those messages. And of course it is all case sensitive. Okay, so you can't put capitals in there where they're not capitals in other files. So the case also has to match, especially when you look at the schema in the model. Okay, this is a lowercase n, this is a lowercase c, and a lowercase p. All that stuff has to be matched up. So rather than make you guys all watch me type everything, what I'm going to do is just I've already done it. I'm going to copy and paste it in there. So I'm going to just take care of my table rows, and I've added this striped and should say table hover. Okay, so there'll be, when you hover your mouse over top of it, it'll change the color of the column row. Okay, so that's one piece that I want to change. And the next part right after that is I want to start dealing with the rows. Okay, so what I've got is I've still got these tags the same way we had it before. I just added the table rows. Okay, and then I put the TDs into this format here. That's all I've done right now. And then at the end I've got the closing out each. Sorry, and I need to move this down to the very bottom. So I'm just going to highlight it, select Alt, and then down. So I need to have that in there as well. Save that change and make sure everything else looks like it's in order. And of course the last thing is Control KD to help me with any of the formatting. There it is. I just like it to be neat. I'm a little bit fanatical about it. I'm sorry. And let's go back to here and do a refresh. And there we go. I don't know why Danish popped up. Okay, so what's interesting here is that I'm actually missing my number 3 from here. So let me go have a look and see what's going on in there. But suffice it to say that I've actually got it printing out halfway decent. Okay, I wish that priority would be there, but it's not. So the other thing is you can see my hover is working and that my stripe column's working as well. Okay, and I'm actually laying it out on the task manager. One of the things I did is I went into Mongo and I did an edit on this. I deleted it and then I copy pasted from the word priority just to make sure it was matching, and then used the tab button and I put that the 3 in there. So I think that's the only thing. And once I did that, in fact, I'll show you what I did. I took this from above. I can delete that, do an update. Okay, and then because I'm editing, I can go back in and add another field, type in priority. Okay, and then I use the tab button to go over, and then I can do a 3. Okay, and that's all I did. And I do an update on that. And then when I went back into my task manager, the 3 actually appeared. One thing I can do is I can actually go into here and say, how about A? We can do an href equals, and we could go like this, tasks, add, okay, get out of there, close that out, and then just do add a new task. Okay, and what this will do is I refresh that, I'll go back out and refresh this as well. And I've got this add a new task right here. But obviously I haven't set up any of the other background code for this to work. But if I go back to tasks, I'm good to go. That's just a link to take me to a different thing that we may want to do in the very near future. Probably not a bad idea to just start looking at doing that right now anyway. So just above the module exports, what I'm going to do is this. I'll say a get tasks add view. Okay, and in there what we'll do is we'll do router dot get. Okay, and obviously the brackets, we'll do the quotes, this, and it'll be add. Okay, and then finish that off obviously with that. And then we'll just call those parameters like we've done a bunch of times already. Okay, and it's going to be required res, and we could do next. We don't have to, but we will anyway. Okay, next, and then let's do resend and render, and we call this one tasks add, and finish that, and then we're good. Okay, it's not got the complete functionality in there, but that's a pretty good start to what we want to do. Since we're setting up everything now to do another view, what I'm actually going to do is this one is I'm going to stick with my task. So I'm going to go over to view, and instead of creating another folder for say add, I'm going to actually do it just inside my tasks. So I'll go to tasks and I'm going to right click and I'm going to say a new file, and we'll call this one add dot what is the other one, HBS. Okay, and hit enter. That's going to open that up. So as you can see, I've opened it up, but it's a blank form. There's nothing in there. Let's just do an H1 add to tasks form. Okay, so I'll save that. And when I go back out to look at it here, and I'm going to save that, make sure I saved it. And yes, I saved it. And now when I click on the add a new task, you get this add the tasks form. Okay, and obviously I haven't built out the task form yet, but you're seeing how I'm going from now tasks to add. Okay. I think we should go ahead right now and just start filling out that form. Okay, so this is all stuff that should be familiar to you already. So I'm not gonna really go into much explanation about it. Some Bootstrap, some HTML, all stuff that you're really familiar with. So this is just gonna be a form, method, equals post. Okay, and then we'll close that off and spread that out a little bit. It's going to do that on its own, and we're going to do a field set, and it'll be class, and we'll call it form control. Form group, I mean. Form group, and close that out. Okay, and then we'll do label. Label, and we'll say class, and that's going to be, let's go with control dot or dash label. So COL MD-2. Okay, close that out, and we'll go with name, colon, and then star. And let me change that to this. Okay, and then after the label, let's go with this is going to be an input. Input name equals name, and then ID equals name, and then outside that we're going to say required. Okay, and then my field set is already there. So what I will do, okay, is I'm going to take all that and I'm going to actually copy, paste down below. And I'm going to change this to a, let's see, this is going to be complete. Oh, sorry. Complete. And I will change this not to an input, but this will be a checkbox. Okay, checkbox. And we'll change that to complete. And the ID will be complete. Okay, and that I'll get rid of the required. Field set, that's good. And then we'll do one more for priority. And we'll do this as a drop down, I think. So that one's going to be priority. And priority, but not a checkbox. This one's going to be a select. Okay, and we'll close that out. And now we'll do options. Okay, and that's going to be 1. Okay, and I'll do 5 of these. Okay, and that'll be 1 to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and end of select. Or I need to find my closing select. Okay, that doesn't seem right. And it should be a select. Closing tag for select. Okay, where's my form? I'll bring my form button up there too. And as always, I'm going to do a Control KD to sort out my formatting. I'm going to save all. One more thing I'm going to add in there, and that's going to be a button. And it'll be class, and I'll do this. Call MD2, not just 2, it'll be offset -2, and we'll do BTN. BTN, you got to be careful with this. Sometimes I found the IntelliSense will overwrite what you're doing. Primary. And close that out and go with save. Okay. And we'll save that. And let's go out and actually have a look. So, okay, check that out. We've got different priorities. Okay, well, it's good enough for now for that piece. Okay, so that's not too bad, but I am going to take out the word form and add tasks. So I'll just keep that to add tasks. And one of the issues now is that, we're able to post, but now we have to go and get the data. So why don't we have a look at that right now? Okay, one thing is when we actually do look at this, this complete thing here isn't really doing me much good, okay? Because first and foremost, when we look at the way we've done this in the schema, well, let me go to here, to schema. Complete we have set as default, right? And so, or default is set to false, I should say. So I'm not really entirely sure that I should keep it in here. So what I think I'm going to do is actually just, I'll comment it out, okay? I won't get rid of it completely. I'll comment it out and I'll save it. And I'll go back and then just refresh this. And you'll see that it's actually disappearing. Okay, so another thing that I want to do is, let's go back in here into this here. And now what I want to do is actually post my tasks, add in the submission form. Okay, so that should say actually form, add form submission. And there's a little bit that I want to do in here, but I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go router dot post, which is opposite to the get. Okay, and it's going to be similar in the sense that it takes basically this entire line right here. Let's just take it to here. Okay. All right. I'm going to take this line here and I'm going to dump it in there. Okay, and then what else do I want to do? At this point, I'm going to add a comment here and say use Mongoose to try to save a new task object. Okay, so with this, what I'm going to do is say task. Okay, you can see it pop up on IntelliSense dot create. All right, so don't forget the big picture is that we're doing CRUD. So this will be similar to this. Okay, so this will be name semicolon, and it'll be this one here. Okay, dot body dot name. Okay, now we're going to go with a comma. We'll go to the next line and say priority. Okay, and I really have to make sure that I'm spelling that properly. So I'm actually going to go to here, grab that, copy, and make sure that I've got the identical spelling. Okay, and then same thing, dot body dot priority. There it is. Okay. And after that, sorry, I hit my wheel. After the priority, then we get into this bracket. I'm going to move that down. Okay. And I'll put in a comma there. And now we're going to get into a little bit of this error stuff again. Okay. So ERR, comma, task. Okay. And I've already closed that out here and here. And then let's look at another set of braces. So what it's going to be again is if err ERR. Okay. And you know, I like to use up a lot of screen space. Then go to the console. Console.log and go with the error. Okay, so ER. And then res.end, so end. Okay, and that's going to be error. Okay, from there, now we're going to do an else. And what's going to happen with this is, you know, if it's actually successful, we do upload a task. Wouldn't it make more sense to actually redirect them to tasks? Okay, so I don't want to just leave it on there because they've typed it in and they've hit the save button and it's got to now do something to give them a visual indication that something happened. So I'm going to do this and I'm going to call this redirect function. Okay, and that is going to be with tasks. Okay, and let's see what I've got for these here. Okay, that's missing one of these guys, and this is actually missing one of those. Okay, and I'm going to go Control KD to deal with my formatting, and it looks like it's okay. And if I get any errors, it's just because there's something going on in here that I didn't do properly. Okay, so moment of truth. Let's give this a go. Okay, what's my next priority is going to be? How about build and publish a quiz. Okay, we'll make that a priority. Let's go with a priority 4. No, priority 5. Okay, and hit save. And look at that. Build and publish a quiz, priority 5. And is it complete? No. But I did notice I've got a nice little spelling mistake on my column heading called complete. Okay, so that worked. I'm pretty satisfied with how things have gone today. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling particularly exhausted. I think this is going to be one of the longest videos I've ever produced. Anyway, work with this and, you know, let's see how this continues to develop over time. But for now, I think we've maxed out on the amount of energy we probably all have, especially me, with this video. So with that, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.